Welcome to Cultivated Live for Tuesday the 26th. Does that sound right, Jason Tarasek?
That's the day.
I am Jay Rosenthal. This is Cultivated Live. I am the co-founder of Cultivated Media, the host of this program, Cultivated Live. And since we launched almost exactly a year ago today, our goal at Cultivated is to be cannabis industry first, providing the industry with the most important, insightful, useful, and timely information every single day. We do it through our daily newsletter, which you can get at cultivated.news. We do that through this daily live stream at Cultivated Live, which streams on LinkedIn and YouTube. So please follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to us on YouTube, get our newsletter in your inbox every single day. A lot of the news has been out of DC, in fairness, over the past couple of weeks with the transition, the naming of potential appointees or nominees to the Trump administration, and I guess those nominees dropping out in some cases. But the other news, Matt Gaetz is who I'm talking about, who you can actually hire now.
Ignorance.
You can hire him now on Cameo if you want. But today we are joined by Jason Tarasek of Vicente. Those of you that follow this program closely or follow Jason on socials, you know that he is in Minnesota. He is a Minnesota cannabis lawyer. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. First of all, I'll see you a week from today. Boom. In Las Vegas. We'll be cruising into MJ BizCon, not on the same flight, but around the same time. So we will see you there, and we'll see lots of our friends from the industry there. But one of the things that has been popping, let's say, has been Minnesota. Can you give us a matter-of-fact rundown of the timing and what is happening today? Because what was happening today is different than what was happening yesterday, I guess.
That is true, Jay. Okay, so yes, as of this time yesterday, the Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management was planning to hold a lottery for our social equity applicants to decide who was going to be winning some pre-approvals that would turn into licenses. There was a court hearing yesterday, and that is no longer happening. The judge has indefinitely postponed the lottery pending a ruling or rulings from the Minnesota Court of Appeals. It's all very complicated, and I'll do my best to explain it.
Yeah, let me try to explain it. Then maybe it'll be easier for you to correct what I got wrong. Was it last week? Those applicants that put in to be part of the lottery, does that sound right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Like 2/3 of them or 3/4 of them got a "you're not qualified" type of thing.
Yeah, so we had roughly 1,800 applicants who had already been pre-approved as qualified social equity applicants by the Office of Cannabis Management.
Okay.
They received denials from the Office of Cannabis Management for various reasons. So that whittled down the 1,800 to roughly 600 for, I don't know what it is, like 200 or so licenses that are available. So frankly, if you were one of the lucky few that didn't get a denial, you were pretty happy. Your odds increased dramatically. But of course, now the whole thing's off, and we don't know how long it'll be postponed, but it's indefinitely postponed.
Indefinitely postponed. And of the 1,800 that applied, what was the application like? And like what I saw on social, it seems like there was not a ton of rationale given to the, whatever it was, 1,200 that got bounced.
Yeah, yes. So I will stick to the allegations and the complaints.
Okay, good. Which are
aspersions on anyone. So yes, there have been at least 4 lawsuits. I'm getting emails as we speak indicating perhaps there's more now. But the bases that OCM is citing to deny some applications is either completely non-existent or extremely vague. And again, according to the complaints, doesn't often tie back to the statute that people were trying to comply with. We do not have any rules yet that you perhaps might expect to find the details for a license application. So it's purely in the statute, and there's really not much meat on the bones there. So a lot of applicants were left confused as to why they were denied.
Understood. So there's this, I'll call it like there were this big pool of applicants that were pre-qualified to be then further qualified to be part of the lottery. Some of those got bounced. That led to these lawsuits for a lottery that was to be held today. There's a stay Is that the right term?
The judge called it this day. It's a little unclear as to whether he really granted the injunction. I think that's what he meant, but he issued a verbal order from the bench on Zoom. We're all watching on Zoom.
Right.
Until he issues a written order, we won't know for sure, but it seems like he granted the injunction.
So let me ask you, so let's like zoom out, because last time we talked, I think you said mid-year next year, I think, or spring even, when some licensees might start opening. Not knowing what the judge, maybe what the judge meant, but also the timing of what comes next. Like, we won't know clarity on that timing until we know when this lottery is going to be held. Is that correct?
That's correct. So originally, I mean, at this point last week, we assumed the lottery for social equity applicants would take place sometime before the end of the year, and that there would be an additional social equity lottery early next year, and then closely thereafter, a commercial round for everyone who didn't necessarily qualify for social equity. I mean, all of that is up in the air at the moment. No one is growing cannabis. So to sell something, you need to grow it first. So this is all just getting pushed back indefinitely. I mean, I think late 2025 might be the most optimistic expectation at this point. I just don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful the parties, the state, and these plaintiffs can sit down and work something out, but I'm not aware of any negotiations happening yet. I mean, this is all very new. It's happening very quickly. Now we have the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. I'm sure nothing's going to be happening for a few days. So it's unfortunate.
Let me ask you another question. You said nobody's growing it. And I think of places like New York, which actually did grant advanced licenses, certainly to hemp farmers at the time, to start growing cannabis in the eventuality that the market would open at some point. I mean, that was delayed too, but has there been nothing like that in Minnesota? And or the current sort of medical cultivators, are they meant to supply the industry when things go live on the adult use side, or is that like to be determined?
Well, there was a provision in the statute to allow for these pre-approvals, which wouldn't become operational until rules were finished sometime early next year. There was a provision that would have allowed anyone with a cultivation aspect of a license to start growing immediately. Of course, that's all on hold now too. But in terms of our medical cannabis manufacturers, our companies here, they are almost completely shut out of our adult use market at this moment. They're not happy about that. They're in negotiations to broaden the scope of what they can do, but that is not happening at this moment either.
Okay.
So the only people happy, I think, about the judge's ruling yesterday, perhaps are tribal nations, who still are the only ones growing and selling and doing pretty well from what I hear.
Yeah, the delay is a delay. I don't know. You don't know this yet, but maybe next week we're all at MJ Biz. Maybe we'll learn something else coming out of Minnesota. Maybe we won't, but if we do, at least we will be together and be able to share it with the Cultivated audience in real time. Can you promise that?
Of course. Everything's happening very quickly. It's sort of minute by minute right now. And I suppose anything's possible. Like, it's up to, once you're in litigation, it's up to the parties to work something out.
Right.
And either that or you go to a trial. So
right.
The writ of certiorari, that is the next step in the process to the Court of Appeals. As I understand it, I mean, that's not going to be heard for weeks or months. So litigation moves slowly. I'm hopeful, like I said, that everybody can sit down and figure out a solution.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, Minnesota consumers can still access hemp-derived THC products almost anywhere, right? That's still going on.
That's true. Virtually every restaurant, every bar, when you sit down, and the menu will include your alcoholic choices and your THC beverage choices. It's revolutionary and still bizarre.
Still happening. Well, if you head to a restaurant between now and when we see you next week, you take a picture of the menu. I don't think I've actually seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So even when you know it's coming as a first-time visitor, it's still
makes you smile.
Unusual. Like the first time I sat down in a coffee shop in Amsterdam, and they came over and they said, "Would you like any hashish or marijuana today?" And I knew it was coming, but it's still unusual to hear those words said out loud.
It makes you smile, right? Before and after.
It's liberating. It's beautiful.
It is. Well, take a picture. We'll do some show and tell in Las Vegas. Jason Tarasek, as always, thank you for being here today from Vicente. We will see you next week at MJ BizCon in Las Vegas. Thank you for the update. Thank you for being our ear to the ground in Minnesota, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Thanks, Jay. See you soon.
Thanks, everybody. We will not. We'll be back next week on Monday, which I think is December 2nd. Either way, we'll be back next week from MJ BizCon. Thanks.